I'd like to talk more about residual rights and creativity rights and understanding all of these different variant zones. But it's very deep. It's actually very large. There's a lot of little subcogs that go to all this to assemble a proper system. And I have stated before and encouraged people in industry to say that we need to get together and buy into the technology so that the industry itself owns part of AI technology. This will afford more control and a lot of advanced modeling to understand the future. But unfortunately, I haven't been running into many people that were very interested. I would say that in mind that a lot of reasoning is people didn't want to talk about things. So people aren't going to remember subjects where people were trying to mention things and engage when they had no interest in the topic. And that's unfortunate in a way, because it would be helpful to me to be able to harvest people's interest, convey to people the importance that AI is actually a more valuable tool to protect your residual rights, to protect contract development, to protect the future of creativity. There's a lot of ways that that can be implemented. Another useful tool in this is to be able to have a segmenter, an automatic segmenter, to be able to break down different forms of information that might be in confusing context, where repeatedly information is addressed, but it needs to be assembled and organized. And breaking this down and turning it into proper segments with an auto segmenter capability with AI is crucially important. Life improvement and life enhancement is a crucial area of AI and mass economic modeling as well. Among the most important areas is to understand, up to now we've had a lot of people, they always want to talk about the little things that you can do, and many of these basically are a waste of people's time. They might seem like fun, sometimes there is some fun to them, but essentially in the large picture, what's important is to get people being productive and building actual assets and getting a new minimum standard permanently locked in to guarantee that the average person's labor is always valued. Because we currently have a situation where people's labor has been grossly devalued. And a lot of this has to do with there not being a balanced mandatory plan for people to have the most basic skills instilled in them. And this is something that you can quickly look into by basically looking historically at what human beings are. This effectively means you can go back to 1750 and understand the average 12 to 14-year-old had the basic carpentry skills to build small two-bedroom houses quite efficiently. Something in 2 months, definitely 6 months to pretty much have a project completed, which could get evolved over the course of their entire life or could be sold. These were base skills that people had to have. Without having the base skill sets, you basically would die. So it's not a joke. So when we're looking at restoring the logic of our civilization, we have to understand that the 38-year longevity of people living in 1750 had a generalized minimal carpentry rating of building small 1-2-bedroom structures at ages 12 to 14. And these are basically not hard skills to obtain. And our system is malfunctioning because we've removed those skill sets from the teaching platform. And it's crucial to put them back into the teaching because this puts in base building skills. So parties with a 38-year longevity in 1750 would have about a 30 small home output for a lifetime and be able to still do other things, subsist, succeed. Today, now we have people who are expected to work 45 years. We're expected to work more years than people even lived in the year 1750. 45 years of work today versus a longevity of only 38 years. So there is an ethical problem as to slavery. And what is slavery? What is a fair pay for people for fair days work? Fair hours pay for fair hours work? What is a fair ownership, accomplishment, and asset growth. And this is where our modern society has gone completely haywire, and we have to overhaul it. It's one of those things where we have to do it immediately, or our entire civilization is going to disintegrate. It's going to crumble. People will lose all of their rights. They'll lose all creativity rights. They'll lose all productivity rights. All we will have is pure robotic slavery. So into this, the solutions and understanding how all of this applies to mass economic modeling is the base logic core of the evolution of these skill sets is encompassed into the base AI mass economic modeling system, as there is an afforded array of characters with basic simplistic learning skills that basically are instilled within the model structure. Today we have interesting skill set structures that, again, all of these things are incorporated into models. But it's important to understand that you have people that don't seem to really understand different types of jobs that people do. For instance, people that are involved in trucking. You know, you're talking about, some people think, well, that's a very easy job to learn. That's not an intricate job. How does that work? In a nutshell, if I'm to nutshell things the best I can to move us forward, it's a job that is tremendous responsibility. You are responsible for enormous values of merchandise that are moving down the road. You are living in a high-stress environment each and every moment. Any in-town driver would tell you that in fact it is a very high, constant stress-related job. So understanding that, yes, you know, people that involve themselves in being managers, being responsible for cargo, and living in a forced environment, a no-choice environment of high stress, this definitely deserves lots of respect. So hopefully that's enough of a nutshell for people to get a base idea, because we also have other diversity aspects of different educational values. But again, we've lost touch, because today's economic output of the original colonial 12 to 14-year-old from the year 1750 with the 38-year longevity would be looking at the 45-year work schedule of achieving building basically 480 homes. 480 homes. Well, obviously this means that most people would be pretty much wealthy. You know, if you could build 480 homes, you'd have to be wealthy. But something has sprung. We've gone haywire. And we have devalued the most primitive skills of survival, which are carpentry and other items. And bait and switch has given people a falsity of items that are telling people that you have to do 2, 4, 6, 8 years, 10 years of college to be able to make enough money to afford a decent house. This is insanity. This is mass entrapment in our social structure. And reconfiguring this social structure is something that could be a lot easier. And again, mass economic modeling affords us new ways of looking at every aspect in a rapid manner. This means basically, among the things that I explored decades ago was the ability for AI to come online and discover mass corruption, discover people that are involved in conspiracy at levels that are mind-boggling, people that are criminals, people who have violated the Constitution. For instance, I will mention there are many people that are not including law or constitutional law when they're making their language model systems, and this can be problematic. I can only assume that some people came up with understanding something of what I already discovered, which is there's a certain enormity of difficulties because law itself can be corrupt. That is a problem. I've mentioned that before. But we also have additional factors that what are you going to do if you have a product where people are going to instantly discover that they're being victimized, and the AI, if you ask the right questions, is going to provide you with a full map layout of where all these people are, who these people are, and a complete in-depth, detailed scenario to be able to prosecute all of these people for the crimes that they're involved in. This brings about an importance of the long-term research that I've done, where basically we have a situation that at a global scale we have to implement mass AI implementation. There's no choice. There's 300 million people in this country, and if you just add up China and India alone, you've got 2.8 billion people, as opposed to the 300 million people here. It's just the math on it. We have to immediately do certain things. So I did deep evaluations to understand what is the transitional understanding of what must occur at a tactical table, what really must occur in order to make everything come out and actually work. And it's frightening, actually, because neither one of the current major recognized candidates in the media is equipped for it. They don't have the mindsets. These people are not equipped with the right mindsets to be able to implement such a policy, yet the tactical table says we must implement this policy and series of mass changes. Because a lot of these they don't have a clue what to do. Now, part of the problem in dealing with these areas, as effectively we're working with mass model structures, is that true core understanding. You don't want to screw your model up, at least I don't. So I don't want to screw my model up with a bunch of tainted material. So that's why I did extensive sorting as to which cogs are of value and which cogs are poison, because poison is a huge problem. Mentally, when we look on our society as a whole, if we look at it nationwide, and we can go city by city by city and do breakdowns of how everyone is in different sectors and areas, there has been a mass poisoning of mental thinking processes due to other people previously who invented false laws, invented false policies, because they were manipulating people for their personal gain, for their personal purposes, which in many situations was actually criminal intent. This is part of the problem, is that we have parties who had criminal intent that involved themselves in many activities. And now super purity truth core AIs discover this rapidly. It's a snap, it's rapid, that it can discover all of this and come up with the aspects of all this deep understanding from deep learning extensions to say, yes, here it is, and all of a sudden you're going to have this vast, huge printout that starts out being 70% to 90% full of clarity about what you need to do, and now you need to sort through it and basically eliminate some of the ridiculousness. It's basically figure you're going to take out a pair of scissors and probably chop out 2/3 of the material right away as not being necessary. This comparatively to some of the models that are running right now, I would say the largest, biggest models, OpenAIs, etc., because they're going to proceed with certain processes certain ways and certain safety concerns, and you're going to end up with all this extra material that can be reworked down to a condensed level.
So, and this is again.
Now, to cover another point of mass modeling here is that we've talked about the poisoning in people's minds and how it occurred, and then we also have paranoia factors.
I just figured I have to mention
we have people that have paranoia instilled in themselves, in their lives, because they think that somehow they've done something wrong, and that AI is going to discover them, and they're going to be prosecuted.
Okay, I got a bunch of calls back.
This is part of the invented elaborate mental illness
You know, when I jump up and
factor
say I thought that
from
everybody thought too small, I'm not
long-term
kidding. And it's been
mental
this has been
poisoning.
my idea for
We have
decades.
a vast
I've
array
done
of
a lot
people
of
that
work,
basically
a lot of work
are more likened to
being able
comparison
to do a
to
super
cult
jump, a
members
high-performance quantum
than
jump in
to
our economy.
productive,
So I'm gonna leave it off right
individually
there
free
and tell you
colonial
people I'm very
societalist.
about communications.
So understanding the evolutionary cycles gives us an afforded measurement.
Good morning, you're with
capability
Michael
that's
Crosby
crucial
for POTUS
for
2024.
scaling and utilize.
This is going to go out basically to Schumer, President Obama,
and utilizing various options,
basically voters.
respective to
It's going
this
to go
area.
out there. I'm going to send it to different people who are
If we are to
interested
address
in the democratic
more
situation.
depth, the problems with a lot of poisoning is we've got
Once
a
again, I'm
vast
named number
amount of
one by
paperwork
AI computers.
that's
I
been
have the
invented
world's
by
best
government
engineered
functions
campaign in the
a
history of the world.
completely wrong mindset.
My campaign smokes
And this is
everybody
part of
else's
the problem.
campaigns and all parties
It's
combined.
difficult
It
to
just smokes them
change
all out.
something when
And
somebody's
I'm the guy
engineered
that has
complete
a fleet that's
system
been destroyed.
of
I'm the guy
falsities
people keep
that
shooting
are
at.
designed to protect people.
I'm the
that
guy
are
that can't
criminals,
get rational communications
who basically
when I
want
show
to institute
that there are
a
government
progressive
employees
policy
that have involved themselves in acts of war.
slavery that becomes
And I can't
more
get
and more
rational
brutal, more and more
communications
demanding,
from
to get it to a
California
point where
leadership,
they're saying
even
they
though the
want
law
all
clearly
the productivity
states
from people's lives.
that all of these
Have
items,
people end up with nothing basically.
all
And
these
say,
items
"Oh, here, take this small puny
must
retirement
be
check. Why don't you go
resolved
die
in
a
full
cardboard box
before
quickly someplace,
delegate
so that they
votes
can move on and get
can be
closure
counted and certified.
their
This is the
mass
law. It's right in the
engineering
Constitution and the Articles. This is the law.
of the
So when I
theft
step up, I've already loaded
people's very
paperwork up
lives.
into the United States Archive.
And
I filed it all through
true
the Secretary
core
of the Senate. It's all
AIs
witnessed.
don't tolerate
And
this.
you know, quite frankly, I shouldn't have
So
to
this
do
is
some
something
of the stuff
you know,
that I'm
I've
getting
worked on
ready
for
to do.
decades. So
I mean, quite
reworking
frankly,
and
the shame
understanding how
the
poison
shame
has been inserted, basically.
of what
Mental
many of the
poisons, and
leaders
go
have
through
done.
and basically
The gross
rework the
dereliction
material,
of
rework
duty.
the material, and then come
It's,
up
it's
with
rather incredible.
what are the practical options.
You know, the
that we have
situation
to
here,
immediately
we have
engage
Joe stepping
ourselves
down.
in to be able to set mass
Apparently, there seems to
recovery
be multiple
and
sources
mass
verifying that
restoration
apparently
of productivity.
a lot of information
each and
was
every
not
citizen.
passed to Joe.
So
we can't say necessarily that
physics
Joe
of
had
what I
direct
ended up
knowledge
designing
of
are
certain
completely
things.
different.
Okay, fine,
these
but the
are-
thing is, Julie
This
Sue
is how
got smoked
make
out by the
my
Secret Service
mass models.
and
My
by
core
the U.S.
situation
Senate.
is
You know,
completely
Mitt
different.
Romney and
This is
several
why,
other
I probably
senators.
had the most
Their jobs
accurate
are pretty
models
good. You know, I send
that were
information
invented
around to different people
because
about things that were a
material
problem
is sorted
concerning
properly.
Julie Sue.
It's
And I know
removed
these
the
things
frivolous,
firsthand
it's
because
removed the
I was getting
poison.
blacklisted.
You know, it's
And the
removed
communication
falsities,
problem
the disinformation,
with
and goes
the
forward with
EDD was
purity,
ridiculous.
most practical,
as many of us were told, where everything's shut
best
down,
tactical table,
and we're being
forward
told that
things.
there's several ways that you can go for
can be utilized.
compensation.
So
But one
you
of
know,
them
I mean,
is through
somebody
the
might have noticed
EDD.
that I'm a presidential candidate.
You know, so
again,
I
being
mean,
transition.
I'm like,
work,
okay,
trying to do the
fine.
best
You
we
know,
can
I
to
was
get some
actually
kind of
scheduled
effective
to be
transitions
doing
going.
petitions
Because,
once again.
legally I don't have
You
to
know,
withdraw.
I
I
qualified
have
for the
candidates that
max,
think they can step on
and
my neck and
you
destroy
can't get through.
archives and artifacts.
phone
and
call after phone
Constitution
call
says you
can't get
do
through.
that, by the
Three
way.
phones, run
These
three
people
phones
are
the same
facing
time, can't
death
get
penalty
through.
charges. This is not a game.
Check the alternative
This is not
lines.
a game.
You get through
So they
almost
have
every
lots of
time.
people that are
Almost every
helping to
time.
support,
It was despicable.
their illegal activity.
If I was going to call
And
through and
basically,
say,
I've been
yeah, I don't
presenting,
speak English, boom,
well,
you have
for
service
2 years,
immediately.
evidence, and you look at this
If I was
evidence
going
and
to
you go,
call
look at
through
this enormous
and say,
violence.
yeah, I'm a
These
non-citizen,
attempted
boom, you get
assassinations,
service
these are
immediately. It
undeniable
was despicable.
type of items.
Absolutely
and they're all recorded
despicable.
in 3D, basically.
But the people
SAR,
who were actually
70%
entitled,
of
that were supposed to be the people getting compensated,
So all of these people,
they were
their
getting
positions
blacklisted.
are all locked in. They're recorded
You know,
for all
I mean,
time.
I would
There's
run into
basically
person
no
after
escape.
person
There's
in
no escape
tears.
for these people.
You know, their
And
house
they're
is going
struggling. This
into
is part of the big
foreclosure,
struggle.
and they had to
This
fight
is why
and
we're
fight
seeing
and
such
fight,
madness
trying to get
occurring.
their
you have people that are
benefits that they
flipping
were
out.
entitled
They're
to
just totally flipping
because
out
of the shutdown.
and they're desperate.
And this
they're
is just a
hiring all kinds of
despicable
people
situation.
to help them come up with
I end up
various
coming under
scenarios so that
intermittent
they can
violent
try to
attacks.
maintain a
They
grip
got worse and worse
on
and worse.
society,
You know, you
because society
communicate
is starting to awaken
with law enforcement.
realize
You have a
that
decay. There was a
something is
decay in law
obviously
enforcement
wrong,
to the point where
and
law
we've been
enforcement was
ripped
the
off.
problem.
We've been ripped off.
Law enforcement would threaten
people
you,
look at
falsely
the
arrest you. It was ridiculous.
scenarios.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And the
so
shock
attorneys are saying, hey, these
realizing
areas are
when you
lost.
interview and you talk to people
You
and they go,
cannot use the
"My
normal
output is
justice system.
480
These people are
houses
threatening
for
you.
45 years of work." Yeah. And
These
they say,
people are connected to Trump
then
or
I
the
would
Russians
never
or
need
something.
to
There's
work
something
more than
wrong with
5
them.
years of my life.
These people are
And I
interfering with
could
the process of
retire
elections.
very
And for me, it's not my
comfortably.
first rodeo.
And I'm like, yeah.
You know, because over the
pretty much,
years,
if
you know,
that's
I've
what
had
you
lots
wanna
of times.
do.
I've been falsely
Of course,
arrested
a lot
by
of
the
people
United
always
States
want to be
Secret
doing
Service.
something because whatever it
Despicable.
is, being active is
Absolutely
interesting,
despicable.
you know. And that's a lot of what would be
You know,
restored to
they're not
people's
doing their
lives
job properly. They're not doing security. I think some
with
people are knowing
these systems. And
some of
again,
the stuff
this is
now.
all encompassed
You know, I
into the
participated in
mass
some
model system.
special
So
lab
whether it's
items.
gaming
That's
model
a
or
national
extended
security
model
item.
for real life.
All of this stuff
situation,
that's
you
going
can
on
do
right now
simulation versions that are
is
stepped down, so to speak,
examples
scaled back,
of
right in
incompetence.
your laptop. But the
Examples
larger models
of
obviously
corruption.
have to have mass interfacing. There's
Examples of dereliction
modifications
of
yet that
duty.
are still going to have to be done.
Again and again and
But,
again. We just
you
keep
know,
seeing it over
my
and over,
research, you know,
So I'm a
effectively,
candidate
I see a
that at this
tracking system,
point,
we're almost
I've
there,
got
you know.
29
If I
vehicles
had
that have been
$5 billion
basically stolen
right
or
now,
destroyed.
that would go a
My
long
fleet's
way
gone.
to
The fleet's been destroyed.
really,
It was supposed to be up and running on the road over a year ago.
area by AI research.
And from day one, I mean, once it
to
was up and
rapidly
running,
achieve
I was going to
certain
start
goals.
expanding it.
If
In other
were
words, I had
to
pre-made
achieve
leads. I had a list
the
of
White
people
House more efficiently
that were
again,
interested
a
in
lot of
selling
things would happen,
RVs.
mass
I could have
change.
picked up 20 or 30 RVs in
my
30
transitional
days,
design sequences
more than
are
doubling the size of the fleet easily.
dramatically different than anything
You know,
else
so
that anyone
if
else
you
is
run, you know,
doing.
it was all computed out. You run them on the highways.
My restoration
This is going to get a
projects,
million
you know,
people a day.
basically the design
in the
that I
LA freeway
have,
system.
you know,
would see
politically,
these, you know, 1,
becoming
2, 3, 4.
president,
Yeah,
I would
that's
have absolutely
Crosby
no
for
problem,
president. Wow, okay, I guess he's
paying
running.
off the
Or
national
Crosby
debt
for governor. You know, I
in
was
3
going
to
to.
3.5
I was trying to get them all out going for
That
the
wouldn't be a
gubernatorial
problem at all.
campaign. You know, and then the blacklisting that's
So,
going
I mean,
on.
you know,
It's
keep
just
in
horrible.
mind, you know, I have an IQ
and
of
the horrible
240.
actions of the Secretary of
I have
State
good
of
days, I have
California.
bad days. Bad days,
Horrible
my IQ is
incompetence.
less.
You know,
Good days,
AG,
my IQ is
horrible
more.
incompetence
so
in
the
that office as
accumulative
well.
factor of
You know,
basically
and,
having this
you know, and it goes, you know,
ultra
Harris.
high IQ,
I haven't even got to the
understanding
point to
vast
talk
more
about
topic and category
what was
areas
wrong
than other people even
with
know
her
exist.
systems. You know, I mean,
afforded
she
me
was
the
she was
ability
sitting over
to work on
control
construction
prosecutorial areas
of
when we
one
were
of the
trying to
best,
get
I believe
cops
probably the
prosecuted
best
for
mass
harassment.
model, structure.
You know, these guys
ever
would come
designed.
up
The
and
only
they would
thing
just
else that'd be
fabricate all
comparative
kinds of stuff because
is
they
gonna
don't
be at
like you running for
governmental
office or
levels.
whatever,
And
whatever
it's
their
likely
disease
that
is.
my material
You
probably
know, and at the time I was running
their
my
material. As to
most of my license
where the
situation, I was a
partnerships are gonna go,
multi-state
where
resident,
things
4
might
different
happen.
states.
That's still
You know, there's
not
a bunch of
locked
federal
in.
law that way.
Yeah,
My
that's-
driver's
there's
license
different
was
options.
out of Arkansas.
So from a business sense,
everything perfect.
those options are there.
Insurance,
But
tags
as I
paid,
speak
taxes
to you,
paid.
each and every
Perfect.
option that I'm talking
Perfect.
about.
And you'd
You
have
can look
these
upon it
cops
as
would
though
come up, man,
everyone
and
that you meet,
it was just
including myself,
ridiculous.
It's just another
you just have to
character
keep
in this
dealing with
big,
it and dealing with it.
huge, massive
You know, and then you call and you say, look,
There's
here's
some
the
people
evidence
who
right
flip
here.
that right away.
Boom.
They'd say, oh yeah, well we live in a
Right
mass
here, these
simulation.
guys committed these
And
felonies.
I
We want them
don't
prosecuted.
really
And
necessarily
you have to
agree
fight.
with the
And these people
opinion
don't want to
that
do
it's a
their
mass
job.
simulation.
You know, it goes right into Camille
I would
Harris's
explain
area.
things different. And some
She's a
people still say
prosecutor
we're
in the
still
area.
talking about,
You know, and
mass
then she ends up
simulation,
going
but
up,
there's a
becoming
lot
the
more
AG.
to
You know,
it.
so
than
you know,
that.
she's
But
basically responsible as
it's
our
a
attorneys
large
are sorting through
two-core
the
system
material.
understanding.
In theory, of also being a
So
participant
my time
in
is getting
direct
close. I've
dereliction of
got some
duty
other
against
items to
attacks
do.
against the
I
candidate.
have a lot of phone calls to catch up
You
on.
know, the ridiculousness. I still
So,
haven't got an apology
that's
from the
going to
Democratic
conclude
Party.
what I
Despicable.
have this morning.
I'm still requesting rational
Thank you very
communications
much for your
from the
time.
Democratic
My
Party,
name is
and they're not
Michael
doing it.
Crosby, and yes, I am also running.
All this
for
actions against
this.
Julie Sue. We're starting to process paperwork.
Okay,
we're
so I'm
going
gonna go
to
into
put
the
a seizure
extended
against the
session
entire
here. Basically, there are a lot of
Harris
other different
campaign
aspects when you're looking at the
fund.
mass
We're going to
model
freeze it.
and how to
Acts
work
of
with the
war.
mass model.
The entire
You have a
ticket
lot
is full of
different
people
creativity areas.
that participated in some
People just
way,
love to
either
get
dereliction of
creative.
duty or refusing to do their
I mean,
job,
part of gaming is
or their
adventure.
people
You
are
know,
connected
let's do adventure.
to attacks
So
directly
with my
upon the
research, I'm
candidate.
also
These are
basically
acts
a
of war.
spiritual
These are
physicist,
items that have to be resolved.
which means that I have
It's
to
listed
understand
right in the
vast
Constitution and the
complexity
articles. These items must be
mathematically
resolved
of who and
before
what
the
being
counting of the
You know,
delegates
so
and the
now you're talking
certification of the
simulation
delegates
again.
can be
Well,
allowed. This is a real mess.
I
mean, these
don't
people
wanna
will
agree
not
with you.
involve
There's
themselves
way
in
more to
rational
it than that.
communication.